Hi everyone, you're welcome to this is the third session for today on Community Leads Africa. So with us right now we have Ben Ben with us, and yeah, I won't actually do the introduction. I'll leave him to do most of the introduction for us. But Ben is from Notion. He's the one. Ben is actually the head of community at Notion, and so we'll be talking with us today how we can manage community at scale. That means, as community leaders, while working on building a community, when that community starts getting larger, like from what Erin spoke to us, how they went from 500 community members to 25,000, that must have been an issue. 25,000 person managing 25,000 persons isn't something easy. So today we're going to learn from Ben how we can actually manage community members at scale. So um, Ben, can you give us a little introduction about you and what you do? Then you can start
Yeah,
sharing us
yeah.
some.
Happy to be here. I oh cool. I see someone was at Block by Block yesterday. That's awesome. So I've been at Notion for the past 3 years. I joined the company when it was about 10 people. It I think Notion is a really unique company in that it's been the community has been like a really core part of the journey, and I think Notion's community is really one of like the most passionate communities out there for a SaaS product. There's a couple of reasons for that. I think, eh, I mean, does anyone here use Notion or familiar with Notion? You can feel free to post in the chat. Um, but
Yeah.
Awesome, yeah. So it's really fun to be to be a part of it, and just to see how people use Notion, and for so many different use cases. So I guess I'm happy to share a little bit about kind of our journey with community at Notion, and like how we look at it, and things that have worked for us, things that haven't worked for us. And Of course, if anyone has any questions, happy to answer. So I'll try to check in on the chat if anyone wants to ask at any point. Um, so I'm gonna share my screen. See? Okay, is that working? Great. Um, yeah, Notion community. So I kind of going back a couple years, my story on how I ended up at Notion is actually pretty interesting. I found Notion on Product Hunt, and I tweeted about it. This was like it took me a couple of times to understand what it was, and you know many people, it kind of takes a couple tries, and once I got it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. My brain really works well with Notion, and I tweeted my setup, and people seemed to be really interested and started sharing like how they were using Notion, or asking me how, like, what I had inside of these pages. I was getting a lot of questions about it, and so I started. I thought it would be fun. I had, like, some time for a side project. I started working on a place where you could share how you were using Notion, called notionpages.com. Just kind of like, templates and things, just different use cases for Notion. And this was actually before Notion had before Notion even had a way to duplicate templates, or had a template gallery. So it was really one of the kind of first like Notion projects out there, and I posted it on Product Hunt, and people really liked it, and were sharing it, and submitting their dashboards and whatever they were creating with Notion. And so I just like kept on going. I was having so much fun. I helped start like a group for Notion, uh, and then like I was buying up other domain Notion domain names, just like thinking of projects I could work on for Notion. And again, I was doing this just because I was really passionate about Notion. Um, and funny enough, I ended up connecting with like the team, and like flying to San Francisco to meet them, and um, uh, and pretty soon after, I met Camille, who had just joined Notion, and she had been at first round, and was really one of the most most talented people I'd ever come across. And so I started kind of working with her on like Notion's template gallery, and a couple of months later ended up joining Notion. So it was a very natural way to join a company. I never really like applied. I just was having fun, and I was consulting at the time for a couple companies, and decided to well, and then this kind of all happened very naturally. So it was a very good fit in that I was already like really passionate and involved in the community with Notion. So so yeah, early. I'll share my screen again. So a couple things that we like that were really fun to work on early on with Notion, that were pretty impactful, I think, were one was like our template gallery. A lot of people were looking for ways to understand how they could use Notion for inspiration, for like building blocks, and so templates really became a powerful mechanism to do that. And we saw that our community was really passionate about building and sharing their own resources. And so our template gallery today is like a place where people could submit and share and get inspired by what others are building with Notion. A couple other so like this was actually before COVID. We were really excited of seeing people who started to organize events around Notion. And what we did was we started providing funding for these events, and pretty soon it was really cool to see there were events like almost every day around the world, different meetups, workshops, gatherings. These are a couple examples from like Barcelona and Taiwan and Korea and Canada. I think this is Japan. And obviously COVID kind of derailed that, but it was really incredible to see that happen. And I think I'm hoping at some point we can bring that back. I think like bridging like the software side and the community side, but in person, like there's something really special about that. Um, uh, and people really enjoyed the opportunity to meet each other in person and like connect around something they were passionate about. We were also organizing like our own events as well, but really like I think the most exciting ones were the ones that the community was organizing. And then another thing that we did that was also happened very organically was we saw folks in the Notion community were creating their own groups around Notion. So I'll show you kind of what that looks like. We saw people who were creating like Notion Korea or Notion New York or Notion Singapore. So these are kind of like a lot of the groups that exist today. Topics, different geos, different languages, interests, and what we did was instead of kind of saying like, oh, we're going to create our own and everyone has to use that, we decided to like really endorse what folks in our community were already doing. So we have this page notion.sl/community on our website where we link out to groups that have over 50 members, and we've continued investing in that and just making sure that like the people who are organizing these groups feel supported, and we call them our ambassadors. So it's our ambassador group, and these folks are they're incredible. They're just like super fans of Notion. They run all of these different groups. They have written books about Notion. They've organized meetups. They translate Notion. They give us feedback, and they've been a really, really huge part of Notion. And we've done a bunch of things to like kind of help connect them and make like our ambassadors feel like they really are kind of a big part of what we're doing. So we have a Slack group where we keep everyone connected. We share updates around kind of what's happening. We give them early access to new features that we're building. We have AMAs with the team. We don't have like strict guidelines. We make people feel like they can go out and do what they want, whatever it is related to Notion, and we just want to be supportive. We're always trying out new things that folks might be excited about. Like, at one point we wanted to do like a summit in person. That didn't really work out because of COVID, but always coming up with like ways for folks to feel really supported and resources for, what anything Notion related could look like, and really like connecting them closely to the team. This is like a video from the team when there were, I guess, 15 people on the team. Here, I'll go back to see if there are any questions here. Oh, was I not sharing my screen?
Your screen sharing went off.
Oh shoot. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was sharing my screen. My bad.
Can see it now.
Okay. Is it working now?
Yeah, it's working now. Cool.
Can you okay, so no one saw any of this?
I think it stopped at the point where you were organizing in-person events before COVID started, like here.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's weird. So it's working right now.
Yeah, it's working.
Okay. Yeah. So so I was showing just kind of like some things from our ambassadors and what they were doing. Just examples of like how we kind of set a mission with them, come up with perks, guides we've created, connecting them with the team. So I think what's worked really well for us with community has been like this bottoms up kind of very authentic, organic approach. We don't tell people in our community what to do. We don't have really strict guidelines. We try to make people feel like they have the power to go out and create things that they're excited about, Notion communities that they're excited about, resources they're excited about, and build that out. Are there any questions from folks that I can answer, or should I just keep going? Okay, so I'll if anyone has any questions, feel free to add in the chat. But I guess I'll just keep sharing.
Okay. Cool.
Here, share my screen. So we talked about that. So I guess a little bit about like scaling community at Notion, things that we've found to be pretty interesting. One is a lot of these groups that I showed you that our community have been creating have really grown into huge resources for the community. So r/Notion, for example, I think today it has almost 180,000 people on it. And it's not run by us, it's run by our ambassadors. And then, there's a lot more of these groups I shared. Some of them have, tens of thousands of members and have, just connected an enormous amount of folks in the community. Ambassadors, we spoke about. I think another really interesting thing that's happened is, around monetization and people who have created businesses around Notion. So we've seen people who have started consulting and providing businesses or creating businesses around Notion, selling services, helping companies get started with Notion. And this has been like a really kind of interesting phenomenon to see because it really incentivizes people to go out there and push Notion and help themselves grow into or grow their own businesses. And there's actually like quite a few. I think there's more than 40 folks now, and most of them actually work on Notion stuff like full time, working with companies. They're also like selling templates. You can find these templates on like Gumroad or Etsy, and some people have made tens of thousands of dollars in passive income just from selling Notion templates. And of course, like the consulting services that they're providing have been really lucrative, and some people are also selling courses. So it's really, really cool to see that expanding. And yeah, so I think we spoke about Notion as a community, but just to share a little bit more, this has kind of become our hub for sharing like all the ways people can get involved with the Notion community. So we wanted one place where people could go and like understand like how can I get involved. And you can go out on this page and see like really all the different ways you can partner with us, you can create, you can whatever it is you're looking for. And it's a growing resource. We're always trying to do more here. I think like one of the really special things about Notion's community is how positive people are. People are really positive, helpful, giving, and it's something that like I think is really an outcome of everything being so bottoms up driven and this like organic, phenomenon where it's the community is creating, the community is doing all this, and we're just trying to like support however we can in the background. Other things we've done to like as the community has grown, to be supportive. We kicked off conferences. So last year we had one for that was focused on Europe. Yesterday or 2 days ago we had a global block by block, which was really exciting. And I think we had more than 30,000 people signed up. So it was a really, really, really awesome event. We've kicked off like a customer champions community, which we announced at Block by Block. We've also partnered with like influencers on YouTube to like share how they're using Notion, also on TikTok. So these are really just examples of like new programs we've built out on the community side over time. I'm going back, I'm talking about the past couple of years. So there's obviously a lot of things, but this has kind of been like the evolution. I think like, there's a couple themes I'll talk about around like how we've grown, but a lot of this, what's been interesting here has just been like this approach of responding to what people in the community are doing and supporting them to continue doing that. So if we see people organizing events or organizing webinars or creating courses, like just finding ways for us to support these folks and make them feel like they can do more and feel like Notion has their back. Any questions I can answer in the meantime? I know there's a lot.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ben. I know you're not done yet, right? So if we have any questions, we can just throw them at the question tab, and Ben is ready and willing to answer our questions for us.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I have one question though. So
yeah,
seeing all the things that you guys doing or have done to actually scale the Notion community, I wanted to ask if you guys had a roadmap as to how to go about this step by step in achieving the kind of community that Notion has right now, and how did you break this down in their order of importance?
I don't have that. That would be really great to have. I mean, because this is like a couple of years in the making, so I think it would be a huge project to do that. I would love to, but unfortunately, there's some articles out there that are pretty good that break down a lot of it. Like if you Google Notion community or Notion community story, I'm sure you can find a couple of those. There's just like so much, and there's so much history, so it's hard to like compile into one thing, but it would be awesome to create that at some point.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Okay. Well, I guess I can share a bit more. Go back. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So just like kind of a couple of things we've done as we've grown. So scaling our team, we've hired some amazing folks like Francisco, who joined as a community manager. We've hired contractors to help out with different projects. We've started to spin out some of our projects to other teams at Notion. So, as Notion has grown, we've also thought like we've been thinking a lot about like how do we continue to scale this, just because of how much is happening, how many programs are available, how many people are looking to get involved. Everything has grown, over time. So I think it's really important to think about. Other things that have been important have been just like being able to iterate quickly. So obviously, switching from physical to digital events when COVID happened, and focusing on that. I'm really again hoping that in-person events come back soon. I think that'll be really fun. Outsourcing where we can, and just being like really trying to be really effective with like our time and prioritization. Having clear goals, clear understanding of like how our projects affect other projects at the company. I think that's pretty important. I think with community, that's something that can be challenging sometimes. Like how do you really measure what you're doing and how effective it is? So I think like being really really persistent about having clear goals and always trying to connect those to like the company goals is something that's really important. Where we are today, these are just a couple of articles about like well, I think you asked about like more about Notion story. These are a couple articles. There's definitely a bunch more, but I think if you search Notion and community, you'll find some interesting stuff. Yeah. I mean, I'm happy to answer questions about Notion, like how to use Notion for community as well, because we use Notion for a lot of the stuff that we do. So I'm happy to do that. Whatever you think would be helpful. I know we only have a couple minutes left, so let me know what folks would be interested in.
I think the question.
Oh, okay. I see a question from Marvis. Okay, how do you managers? Yeah, we actually found that it wasn't really the dollars or like it wasn't investing financially. It was more like around time, and having capacity. So I guess being really effective with like how you use your time and prioritizing, outsourcing stuff if possible. But I mean, really a lot of the stuff we've done hasn't been like very budget intensive. We've found at least the community is one of those things that is actually very reasonable in terms of it's not like performance advertising or billboards, things that are traditionally like really expensive and require like a really large budget. But rather community is like it really depends on how or like how you're structuring it and how you're investing in it. I see another question from Peter. How important is user-generated content from the community, the Notion as a whole? Yeah, I mean, user-generated content is a big one. I think templates has really been a huge part of that because it gives people like inspiration for how to start, and the building blocks kind of set up in a way that they can just duplicate it and go ahead. So that's definitely why like we've invested a lot in showcasing templates, and we're really excited about people like creating and monetizing templates. I mean that outside of that, like our ambassador program. What's been really great about that is it's a lot of people in our program have become huge advocates for Notion, and they produce content about Notion, like tutorials, YouTube videos, guides, courses, books, and that's incredible content because it's in all these languages, covering all these use cases, reaching new audiences, and doing all these things that we would never be able to do ourselves. So we're not like scripting that content, of course, because it's like really created by folks in the community, but like for us supporting those folks and making them feel like they're a part of like the Notion universe and really close to it, I think is hopefully helping is in a way like connecting those folks more closely to us. Sure. Yeah, anything else I can answer? Okay. Should any last questions, or should we
Okay.
pause here?
My voice. I'm back. Okay, so Ben, thank you very much for your session. Thank you very much for your talk. We really enjoyed it. So, in the absence, if anyone has a question to ask, Ben still has 5 minutes to spend with us before we move on to the last session for today. So, um, does anyone still have any other question to ask before we, wrap up this session? And yeah, it's really nice getting to see how large the community at Notion has scaled. I mean, from your explanation, it started small, but now it's really nice. For example, um, the blog by blog that was organized, over 30% signed up. So that's actually a large number, and that's interesting. So we can actually implement that as well and scale. So there's one more question.
Mm-hmm.
There's one more question.
What's the most creative way you've seen Notion
What's
being
the creative way you've seen Notion being used? Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, there's like so many. It's hard to pinpoint one. I mean, I've seen people like use it for like Dungeons and Dragon tracking for like playing games. Seen people use it right now. People like organizations are using it to um, uh, to share information about like Ukraine. So it's so wide, how much like the types of use cases and how how powerful it can be. I think that what's been really cool to see has been more people using it to like publish public pages, like as landing pages, as websites. So that's really neat. I'm very excited about that. Yeah. Okay. Oh, how much impact has the community had on developments and changes in the product? Yeah, I mean, I think like it definitely plays a huge part in terms of gathering feedback and testing. So we have like early access programs for like ambassadors. Um, it doesn't necessarily like always define it doesn't define our roadmap, but like it is a really powerful way for us to gather feedback and make sure that we're working on like important problems and being attentive to what our community thinks. So we definitely track and monitor a lot of what folks on Twitter are saying, or customers are saying. Like it's definitely a huge part in the product development cycle. Okay, no problem. All right, I guess out of time. Thanks for having me. Have a good day. I think we were just about to end it. Okay. Thank you all.